Set and tapping in. We're going to the college ranks where it's safe to say the Bill Belichick experience has not gone as expected. From his girlfriend infiltrating his emails and all of football operations to his grudge against his former place of employment. Oh, by the way, the football is also really bad. The Tar Heels coming off of an embarrassing blowout at the hands of Dabo Swinney and a trick play on the opening drive. Can it get any worse? Belichick now has 3 losses by 25 or more points this season for the first time in 30 years as a head coach. As you take a look at his record against power conference opponents. Their next game will be a West Coast road trip to Cal, kicking off at 10:30 Eastern. It's especially close to our resident Tar Heel and host of the Cover 3 podcast, Chip Patterson. Let's get a wellness check from Chip over the weekend on how he's feeling about UNC.
Was over at my parents' house last night. They were at the game. Oh, God. They were like, yeah, we were in the sun, and looking at the sun was better than looking at the field. But my dad said on defense, I felt bad for the players because they were talking to each other. They didn't know what was going to happen. The players, with 2 weeks to prepare for the Clemson Tigers, were out there lost with no idea of what was going to happen. That is how Dabo dialed up a 75-yard wide receiver pass touchdown for play number 1. And the whole first half, it was just right down their throat.
I don't know who was more impactful in that clip, whether it's Chip Patterson going to town, who joins us now, or Danny Cannell, who was down in that bottom left corner, just kind of silent listening to Chip. Guys, we appreciate the time. Of course, we're starting our conversation with UNC. We have crossed the halfway point of the season, and Chip, we know these coaches are not cutting it, including Bill Belichick. Round of applause to you for that epic roast. But on a more serious note, Chip, could you see a world where the Bill Belichick is out at UNC in the college ranks based on what you've seen to this point of the season?
Yes, Haley, I could see it. Now, how we get there, when, what kind of timeline would get us there, I'm not sure. But the idea that North Carolina might decide that after everything that they've seen, that there would be maybe a pivot point, I think that is going through the minds of a lot of North Carolina fans, certainly, and definitely some at the university. And how high up it goes and whether they want to act on those urges, that's going to be the literal tens of millions of dollar questions. If they were to part ways with Bill Belichick, the cost of the buyout on the university side would be about $30 million. But what about the Bill Belichick side? What if Bill Belichick doesn't want to be a part of this anymore? Well, that is a far less expensive buyout if Bill Belichick wants to leave. I think the one thing is for certain that the bill of goods that has been sold to the university and to the fan base has turned out spoiled, and that the plans that have been offered, whether it be by the coaching staff internally or but through Michael Lombardi in a letter to boosters and fans preaching trust the process, tear it down to rebuild it, a 40-player signing class. I just don't think that is a plan that is getting a lot of confidence from those on the outside because, like I said before, this is embarrassing for the University of North Carolina because Bill Belichick has brought the spotlight, and what they have found is empty stands and a product that is simply not of the power conference caliber. And that is the question: is how much money are you willing to pay to end the embarrassment?
I mean, this is one of the worst hires we've seen. I mean, since I've been covering the sport in 15 years that I've seen, that's just been such a flop. And I wanted it to work. Like, as a college football fan, I don't have any interest in North Carolina, but I like seeing one of the greatest coaches in the history of our game come in to grace the sidelines and wondering how this could go. And it's been an absolute disaster for so many different reasons. Personnel evaluation has been atrocious. And here's the crazy thing. I don't know if it's hit rock bottom. Like you think it would be against Clemson when it's 28-3, but wait till Stanford comes to town. Wait till Duke comes to town, a rival, and you can't, score against those teams. You can't have success against those. I just wonder if this thing is going to get worse before it gets worse. And I honestly do think at some point, Bill Belichick, somebody in his inner circle, needs to approach him and say, man, if you just rip the Band-Aid off, say it was a mistake, and you call it off after 1 year, you salvage your overall legacy as one of the greatest coaches in the sport. Because if you drag this on, I do think it does start to impact his greater legacy of how people view Bill Belichick. So I unfortunately think it could get worse before it gets worse.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up there. Where in terms of the legacy, it's crazy how he can have so much head coaching experience, be known as the greatest coach that the NFL has ever seen. And in 6 months, all of that has us questioning what that legacy is going to look like. It's certainly an interesting perspective there when it comes to UNC. I want to pivot, though, and talk about Penn State, gentlemen.
What's up, Vikings Nation? Victor here from Report Vikings, and I'll be honest with you guys, this bye week feels heavy. There's tension inside TCO Performance Center, and it's not just because we're sitting at 3-2, it's because this team looks lost. Flat out lost at times. Yeah, we've got 3 wins, but let's be real. 2 of those came in the final minutes after we clawed back from huge deficits. Every game feels like we're chasing, never dictating the tempo. That's not sustainable football. That's desperation football. And from what I'm hearing and what's been reported, the Vikings front office is not happy. They actually met with Kevin O'Connell during this bye week to talk about the team's performance. And let's just say, his seat's starting to get warm. If things don't turn around soon, this could be O'Connell's final stretch as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. And the name being thrown around as a potential replacement? Yeah, you heard it right. Bill Belichick. Now, I know what you're thinking. Victor, there's no way Belichick ends up in Minnesota. But listen to this. Rumors out of North Carolina say Belichick has discussed buyout options with UNC's athletic department where he's currently coaching. The man's 73 years old, and reports even say he'd be willing to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he finds the right NFL opportunity. And let's be real, Minnesota could actually make sense. He's always loved defensive football. He values discipline, and this team right now, we're the complete opposite of that. Let's break down why this coaching situation is becoming so serious. The Vikings are currently the worst team in the entire NFL in a few critical categories. And it's not just bad luck. We're last in sacks allowed. J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz have been hit more than any quarterbacks in the league. We're dead last in third down conversions, which is insane for a team that was supposed to run a smart, efficient offense. We're bottom of the league in first downs via rushing, meaning our run game is non-existent. And on top of that, we're the most penalized team in football right now. You can't win football games like that. Not in the NFL, not with this kind of roster. That's why the front office reportedly pulled O'Connell in for a closed-door meeting this week. The message was simple: fix this now, or changes are coming. Now here's where it gets interesting. Bill Belichick has been linked to a possible NFL return. He said all the right things about staying at UNC, but people close to him believe he's itching to get back to the league if the right situation comes up. And Minnesota, that could be the soft landing he's looking for. He'd get a roster with young talent like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Ivan Pace Jr., and a defense that has pieces he could mold into something special. Let's be honest, Belichick would bring something this team hasn't had in a while: discipline, structure, and accountability. No more dumb penalties, no more mental lapses, no more giving up 3rd and 12 because of miscommunication. And you can't help but wonder how a mind like Belichick's would handle developing J.J. McCarthy, or even decide if he's the guy long term. But I'll say this, firing O'Connell mid-season isn't something I want to see. I like the guy. He's passionate. He's a player's coach, and you can tell the locker room respects him, but at some point, you've got to produce. This team has too much talent to be this sloppy, too many weapons to be this inconsistent. If we keep falling behind early, killing drives with penalties, and letting McCarthy get hit 6 or 7 times a game, it's only a matter of time before something breaks. And if things don't change fast, if we come out of this bye week and drop a couple of games, I truly believe the front office might make a move. So Vikings fans, I gotta ask you, do you think it's time to move on from Kevin O'Connell? Would you actually want Bill Belichick in Minnesota? Or is that just a dream that sounds better on paper than it would in real life? Let me know your thoughts down below, because I feel like the fan base is split right now, and I want to hear your take. And hey, if you love this team like I do, even through the chaos, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Report Vikings, and share this video with your fellow fans. We're in for a wild second half of the season, Vikings Nation, and it might just decide the future of this franchise. This is Victor from Report Vikings. And as always, Skol, baby.